Hey guys, tonight we are going to peel back the thick emerald curtain of the Amazon rainforest, a place where the air is so heavy with moisture it feels like you're breathing water. Imagine sunlight struggling to pierce the canopy, dappling the forest floor in shifting, hypnotic patterns. You can hear the buzz of a million unseen insects, the distant cry of a howler monkey, and the slow, menacing slither of something enormous just beyond your line of sight. This is a world that has swallowed explorers whole, a living, breathing labyrinth that doesn't give up its secrets easily. In fact, let's be honest, you probably wouldn't survive this. The jungle, in all its majestic indifference, would likely claim you within a week. So before you get too comfortable, please do take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what we do here. We'd also love to see where you're tuning in from, so drop your city and local time in the comments below. It's always a treat to see our community of night owls spanning the globe. Now, turn your lights down low, maybe put on a fan for some gentle, ambient hum, and let's all relax into our journey for tonight. You are standing in a room that smells of old paper, beeswax, and quiet desperation. It's the early 1900s. And you are Colonel Percy Harrison Fawcett. Right now, though, you feel less like a colonel and more like a cog in the grand machinery of the British Empire. Your uniform, a scratchy wool beast, is impeccably tailored but feels like a cage. You look at your hands strong, capable hands that have mapped terrain, fired artillery with precision, and yet feel utterly useless shuffling the endless paperwork of a peacetime army career. You're stationed in Ceylon, a jewel in the empire's crown, but it feels more like a gilded prison. The polite society, the endless dinner parties, the talk of polo and promotions, it all feels small, trivial. There's a restlessness in your bones, a yearning for something vast and untamed. You've always been a bit of an odd duck in the rigid world of the British military. Your fellow officers trade stories of cricket scores. You secretly read accounts of ancient civilizations and practiced dowsing with a willow branch, feeling for unseen energies in the earth. They see the world as a thing to be ordered, managed, and ruled. You see it as a place of deep, layered mysteries, a palimpsest where forgotten histories are buried just beneath the surface. You've even dabbled in theosophy, the belief in ancient wisdom, in a spiritual hierarchy, which is about as popular in the officers' mess as a cobra in a sleeping bag. It's a quiet rebellion, this inner life of yours. While you present the very model of a stoic, mustachioed British officer, a part of you is always dreaming of a world beyond the neat lines on the empire as maps. This longing is becoming an ache. You look out the window at the lush, controlled greenery of the colonial gardens, and feel a profound sense of wrongness. This isn't where you belong. Your destiny, you feel with a certainty that borders on obsession, lies somewhere else. It lies in the blank spaces, the parts of the globe marked unexplored. A common historical fact of the era is that the Royal Geographical Society, or RGS, was the epicenter of British exploration, funding and sanctioning expeditions to fill in these very blanks. Driven by a mixture of scientific curiosity, national pride, and raw commercial interest. You've read their journals, followed their expeditions, and dreamed of one day receiving a summons from them. One afternoon, a letter arrives. It bears the seal of the RGS in London. Your heart gives a jolt, a physical thud against your ribs that feels like a key turning in a long locked door. The letter is formal, couched in the reserved language of gentlemen scholars, but its contents are explosive. They are requesting your presence. They have a mission, a task of immense difficulty and importance in a part of the world that has consumed lesser men. South America, the Amazon. A border dispute between Bolivia and Brazil needs a neutral, experienced surveyor to adjudicate. They need someone with your skills in cartography and your resilience. They need you. You fold the letter, your hands surprisingly steady. The scent of beeswax in the room seems to fade, replaced by the imagined phantom smell of damp earth, wood smoke, and something wild and floral. The quiet desperation that has been your constant companion for years begins to dissolve, replaced by a surge of pure, unadulterated purpose. Historians still debate whether your deep-seated belief in lost worlds predated this moment or was truly ignited by it. But as you stand there, the letter in your hand feels less like a job offer and more like a prophecy being fulfilled. Your wife, Minia, will be worried. Your children will miss you. Your superiors will grumble about losing a competent officer. You know all of this. But the call of the unknown is a siren song you cannot and will not resist. The blank space on the map is calling your name, and you are finally going to answer. It's a funny thing, you think. You think how a single piece of paper can change not just your future, but your entire sense of self. You've just been handed a key, not to a new career, but to a new reality. You arrive in London, and the city is a shock to the system. After the languid, tropical heat of Ceylon, the damp chill of the city seeps into your bones. The air is thick with the smell of coal smoke and horse manure, a far cry from the phantom jungle you've been dreaming of. But this is a necessary stop, a crucible you must pass through to get to your true destination. You find yourself in the hallowed halls of the Royal Geographical Society, a place that feels more like a cathedral dedicated to adventure than a scientific institution. The walls are lined with maps showing the ever-shrinking blank spaces of the world, and the busts of famous explorers, Burton, Speke, Livingstone stare down at you with stony, judgmental eyes. You can't help but feel a little intimidated, like a schoolboy called to the headmaster's office. The men who greet you are exactly as you pictured them, old, bearded, and radiating an aura of absolute certainty. They speak of the Amazon not with wonder, but with a kind of proprietary pragmatism. To them, it's a problem to be solved. The border between Bolivia and Brazil, in the remote Acre region, is a source of constant, low-grade conflict. Why? The answer, in a word, is rubber. The burgeoning automobile industry has made rubber trees worth more than gold, and the region is dense with them. This isn't just a mapping mission. It's a geopolitical imperative. They need you to draw a line, a definitive, unarguable line, through one of the most hostile and unknown environments on the planet. They lay out maps, tracing rivers with their fingertips, and talk about leagues and latitudes as if they're discussing a garden path. They chose you for your record. You're known for your meticulous work, your physical endurance, and your ability to lead men. They don't mention your interest in dowsing rods, of course. That's not the sort of thing one discusses at the RGS. As they talk, you find your attention drifting from the politics of rubber to the map itself. Your eyes are drawn to a vast area east of the mission's coordinates, a huge swath of green, marked only with the names of a few rivers and the word unexplored. It's a void, a question mark. It pulls at you. What's in there? What secrets does it hold? You feel a familiar thrum of excitement, the same feeling you get when your dowsing rod dips, signaling something hidden beneath the earth. You accept the mission, of course. The terms are set, the funding arranged. You are to be the chief of the commission. You will have a small team, provisions, and the full backing of the RGS, as long as you stick to the task at hand. The unstated warning is clear. Do the job, draw the line, and don't go chasing phantoms. This is science, not romance. A quirky but telling fact from this period is that explorers were often given bizarre and frequently useless survival gear by well-meaning sponsors. You might be issued a special patented water filter that clogs in 5 minutes, or a type of pith helmet that dissolves in the rain. Your most important tools would be the simplest: a good machete, a reliable theodolite for surveying, and an almost superhuman tolerance for suffering. Before you leave, you spend your nights in the RGS library, poring over the accounts of those who have ventured into the Amazon before you. The stories are horrifying. Tales of men lost to disease, devoured by predators, or driven mad by the incessant insects and suffocating humidity. You read about the legendary Spanish conquistador, Francisco de Orellana, who was the first European to navigate the length of the Amazon River in the 16th century. His chronicles, once dismissed as fantasy, spoke of encounters with warrior women, the Amazons that gave the river its name, and sightings of large, populous cities with advanced arts and crafts. Most scholars of your time dismiss these as exaggerations, the fever dreams of a man trying to impress his king. But to you, they ring with a strange note of truth. Historians still debate whether these early accounts, like Orellana's, were genuine observations of a complex riverine society that later collapsed, or simply fabrications designed to secure more funding and fame. For you, the debate is irrelevant. The stories resonate with your own inner convictions. You believe that the jungle isn't empty. You believe it's hiding something. The idea of a lost civilization, a remnant of a forgotten age, begins to take root in your mind. It's a dangerous seed, this idea. It's a distraction from your mission. But it's also the fuel that truly powers your journey. You're not just going to South America to settle a border dispute over rubber trees. You're going because you believe you might find El Dorado, not a city of gold, but something far more valuable. A city of stone, a testament to a history no one believes exists. As you board the ship bound for Brazil, you look back at the gray, orderly coastline of England. You feel a profound sense of release. You are leaving the world of predictable certainties and heading into a realm of infinite, terrifying possibility. The members of the RGS would be appalled if they could read your thoughts. They think they've hired a surveyor, but you know better. You are a pilgrim, and you are about to step into your cathedral. It's funny, in a grim way, to think that the very men funding your trip have no idea what you're really looking for. They want a neat line on a map. You're looking for a lost world. You just have to survive the journey there first. The transition from the world you know to the world you are about to enter is gradual, and then brutally sudden. Your journey takes you first to the coastal cities of Brazil, places that still hum with a European rhythm. But as you travel inland, by train and then by riverboat, civilization begins to fray at the edges. The neat colonial architecture gives way to rough-hewn wooden shacks. The chatter of Portuguese and English is replaced by a tapestry of local dialects and the ever-present thrumming symphony of the jungle. Finally, you reach the true beginning of your expedition, a dusty, fly-blown outpost that is the last stop before the wilderness swallows you whole. Here, you meet the rest of your team, mix of hardy locals hired as porters, and boatmen, and a couple of other Britons who, like you, are here for a paycheck and a sliver of glory. This is your first expedition, from 1906 to 1907, and the jungle wastes no time in teaching you humility. The romantic image you held in your mind of a noble explorer striding through a pristine wilderness evaporates within the first 48 hours. The reality is sweat. Constant, unending sweat that soaks through your clothes and seems to attract every biting, stinging insect in a 5-mile radius. The air is a physical weight, a wet, hot blanket that makes every breath a conscious effort. You are not striding. You are hacking, stumbling, and wading through a landscape that actively seems to want you gone. The mud sucks at your boots with a greedy, liquid sound, and the vegetation is a tangle of thorns, razor-sharp grasses, and vines as thick as your arm that trip you at every turn. Your companions are a mixed bag. Arthur Jeffson, another British officer, is your second in command. He's a good man, but you can see the strain beginning to show on his face almost immediately. The local guides and porters are the true masters of this environment. They move with an economy of motion you can only envy, their eyes missing nothing. They teach you the essential, unglamorous arts of jungle survival, which grubs are safe to eat, how to build a shelter that will actually keep the rain out, and how to recognize the tracks of a jaguar. One of the men, a Takana Indian named Maniko, becomes your unofficial tutor. He communicates more with a gesture or a glance than your British colleagues do with a full paragraph. You quickly realize that your military training, your knowledge of ballistics and strategy, is almost entirely useless here. The jungle is the commanding officer, and its orders are absolute. Disease is a constant, invisible threat. Malaria, yellow fever, beriberi. The names are a litany of slow, agonizing ways to die. A common historical fact is that on many of these early 20th century expeditions, more men were lost to infection and disease than to any other cause, including hostile encounters or accidents. You learn to be meticulous about boiling your water and to dread the high-pitched whine of a mosquito near your ear at night. But even with precautions, the risks are immense. Within a few weeks, one of your porters is delirious with fever, his body shaking uncontrollably. You have a limited supply of quinine, the only effective treatment for malaria, and you have to ration it with the cold calculus of a battlefield commander. Do you use it on one man now, or save it in case a more valuable member of the team gets sick later? It's a brutal equation, and one of the first of many that will chip away at your civilized veneer. The wildlife is both magnificent and terrifying. You see monkeys leaping through the canopy with breathtaking agility, brilliantly colored macaws that streak across the sky like living jewels, and butterflies the size of your hand. But you also see the things that haunt your sleep. Anacondas as thick as a man's thighs slip silently into the murky water. Caimans, their eyes like cold yellow stones, line the riverbanks, watching your dugout canoe with unnerving stillness. And the insects are a biblical plague. Ants that march in armies, wasps with stings that feel like a hot nail, and Nepium flies, tiny black insects whose bites leave you bleeding and itching for days. A quirky and rather disgusting tidbit about jungle survival is the variety of folk remedies for insect bites, some of which involved applying tobacco spit, mud, or even gunpowder paste to the affected area. None of them really work. You just learn to endure the misery. One evening, as you're huddled around a smoky fire, a sound echoes through the darkness, a low, guttural growl that makes the hair on your arms stand up. It's a jaguar. It's close. Maniko simply puts another log on the fire and sharpens his machete, his face impassive. You, the British colonel, feel a primal fear that you haven't experienced since you were a child. This is what you wanted, isn't it? The raw, untamed world. But there's a difference between wanting it in a comfortable library in London and living it. Historians still debate whether the extreme physical and psychological pressures of these first expeditions forged Fawcett as legendary toughness or simply amplified a pre-existing, almost fanatical single-mindedness. As you lie in your hammock that night, listening to the alien sounds of the jungle and feeling the throb of a dozen insect bites, you realize the truth. The jungle is not a place to be conquered. It's a place to be survived. And survival, you are quickly learning, is a victory in itself. The neat line on the map seems a very long way away. Weeks bleed into months. The jungle has a way of erasing time, reducing your existence to a simple rhythmic cycle. Wake at dawn, hack through the bush, make camp, sleep, repeat. Your body has adapted. You're leaner, harder, your skin tanned to the color of old leather, and cross-hatched with a network of scars from thorns and insect bites. The initial shock has worn off, replaced by a kind of weary competence. You can now identify the calls of different monkeys, and you know which wood creates the least smoke when burned. You have, in a sense, become part of the landscape. But your mind is still restless, always searching, always looking past the immediate task of survival. The border survey continues, painstakingly slow work with the theodolite and chain, but your real focus is on what lies beyond the riverbank, hidden under the canopy. Your first truly significant encounters with the indigenous peoples are tense, cautious affairs. These are not the savages described in sensationalist travelogues back home. You meet tribes like the Guerreros and the Maropas, people who have a complex relationship with the forest. They are wary of outsiders, and for good reason. The rubber boom has brought violence and exploitation to their doorstep. You learn that the best approach is not one of force, but of respect and patience. You offer gifts, steel knives, beads, mirrors, and you try to communicate with gestures and the few words your guides can teach you. Sometimes you are welcomed with curiosity. Other times you are met with a volley of arrows fired as a warning, forcing a hasty retreat. It's a delicate, dangerous dance. It's during these encounters that you begin to see things that do and fit the accepted narrative of the Amazon as a primitive wilderness inhabited only by hunter-gatherers. One day, while trading with a small, isolated village, you are shown a piece of pottery. It's exquisitely made, with intricate geometric patterns far more sophisticated than anything the current inhabitants produce. When you ask where it came from, they point vaguely eastward into the deep jungle and speak of the ancestors or the old ones. The story is always the same. There were once great builders, people who lived in stone houses long before their own time. It's just a legend, of course. That's what a sensible man would conclude. But you are not a sensible man. You are a man looking for proof. Later, while hacking a path for the survey line, your machete strikes something hard. It's not a rock. Clearing away the undergrowth, you uncover what look like large, man-made earthworks, raised causeways, and defensive ditches, now almost completely reclaimed by the forest. They are vast, geometric, and clearly the product of a large, organized labor force. A common historical fact is that for much of the 20th century, the scientific consensus was that the Amazon soil was too poor to support large-scale agriculture, and therefore, large sedentary populations were impossible. Your discovery of these earthworks, now known as geoglyphs, directly challenges that assumption. You stand there, sweating in the oppressive heat, and feel a jolt of vindication. This is not natural. This is evidence. The seed of the lost city idea, which you've privately started calling Z, begins to sprout and grow, nurtured by these tantalizing clues. It's no longer just a vague, romantic notion. It's becoming a hypothesis. You start to piece things together. Orellana's Chronicles of Cities, the local legends of stone houses, the sophisticated pottery, and now these massive earthworks. What if the stories weren't myths? What if the Amazon basin once hosted a civilization as grand as the Incas or the Aztecs, one that rose, flourished, and then vanished, swallowed by the relentless jungle? A quirky detail of your burgeoning obsession is that you begin to carry a small, smooth stone you found near one of the earthworks. You keep it in your pocket, rubbing it with your thumb when you're thinking. It becomes a kind of talisman, a physical link to the mystery you're chasing. Your companions think you're becoming eccentric. They see you staring into the distance for long periods, lost in thought. They are focused on the mission, on getting back to civilization with their pay and their health intact. You are becoming a man possessed. Historians still debate whether Fawcett's theory of Z was a brilliant intuitive leap based on subtle evidence, or the result of confirmation bias, where he interpreted every strange rock and folktale as proof of his preconceived notions. You complete the border survey, the job the RGS sent you to do. The line is drawn, but it feels like a hollow victory. The real work, you feel, is just beginning. As you travel back downriver, leaving the green labyrinth behind, your mind isn't on the report you'll have to write or the accolades you might receive. It's on the vast, unexplored territory to the east. The pottery shards, the whispers of the old ones, the ghost lines of the ancient causeways, they have formed a map in your mind. A map that leads to a place that may or may not exist. You came to the Amazon as a surveyor, an agent of the British Empire. You are leaving as a seeker, a man with a singular, all-consuming quest. The jungle has not defeated you. It has initiated you. It has shown you a secret, and now you can never turn back. You are back in a world of stiff collars and polite conversation, but it feels more alien than the deepest jungle. After months of visceral, life-or-death reality, the cities of Brazil, and then the hallowed halls of the RGS in London, feel like a strange dream. You present your survey findings, and they are impeccable. The border is settled. The rubber barons are happy. The geographers are pleased. You are lauded as a hero, a man who tamed a small piece of the green hell. You receive the RGS's Founder's Gold Medal, a prestigious honor. But as you stand at the podium, accepting the award, your mind is elsewhere. You speak the words they want to hear of hardship, scientific duty, and imperial pride. But you don't tell them what you're really thinking about. You don't tell them about Z. Your obsession needs more than just pottery shards in whispers. It needs a historical anchor, a concrete piece of evidence that you can present to the skeptical, tweed-clad gatekeepers of exploration. You spend your days between expeditions haunting libraries and archives, digging through dusty, forgotten documents. You are looking for a key, a Rosetta Stone for your theory. And then, one day, in the cavernous National Library of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro, you find it. It's a document cataloged as Manuscript 512. The manuscript is a decaying, water-stained bundle of papers written in Portuguese in the 18th century. It's the account of a group of Portuguese bandeirantes, ruthless fortune hunters, who roamed the interior of Brazil looking for gold and slaves. The author, whose name is lost to time, describes a years-long journey into the unexplored backlands of Mato Grosso. The text is filled with hardships and wild encounters, but it's the final section that makes your heart pound in your chest. The author claims that after a long and arduous trek, his party discovered a lost city, high on a plateau. He describes it in astonishing detail. A city of massive, cyclopean stone architecture, with wide, straight avenues, multi-storied buildings, and a grand plaza with a towering black stone statue. He mentions arches, temples, and inscriptions in an unknown alphabet, which he painstakingly copied. As you read the translated text, a feeling of absolute certainty washes over you. This is it. This is Z. The description matches your own burgeoning theories with an almost supernatural precision. It's not just a collection of huts. It's a metropolis, a complex, sophisticated urban center. A common historical fact is that Manuscript 512 is a genuine document, though its contents are highly controversial. Most historians view it as a piece of colonial-era fiction, a popular genre at the time, or perhaps a wildly embellished account of some minor ruins. But for you, it is gospel. It is the proof you've been desperately seeking. You try to use the manuscript as geographical clues references to rivers and mountain ranges to pinpoint the city as location on a modern map. It's a frustrating, almost impossible task. The names have changed, the landscape is vast, and the author's directions are vague and fantastical. But you trace a rough area, a likely search zone in the Mato Grosso region, an area still largely unexplored. This document transforms your quest. It is no longer a vague search for something. It is a targeted hunt for the city described in Manuscript 512. A slightly quirky detail about the manuscript is that it also mentions seeing white Indians with red hair living in the vicinity of the city, a detail that would fuel endless speculation and even some rather dubious racial theories over the years. You, however, are focused on the stone and mortar, the physical city. You secretly make a copy of the manuscript and the strange hieroglyphs it contains. These symbols become your new talisman, replacing the simple stone from the jungle. You study them, trying to find a pattern, a connection to other known ancient scripts. You find none. They are unique. This document becomes both your greatest asset and your greatest liability. When you cautiously mention it to your colleagues at the RGS, you are met with polite, but firm, skepticism. A lost city in the Amazon? Based on a fanciful 200-year-old adventure story? It's the stuff of H. Rider Haggard novels, not serious geographical inquiry. They remind you of your duty, of the importance of verifiable scientific work. They are worried you are straying from the path. They are right to be worried. You are not just straying. You are blazing a new trail into territory they consider intellectual fantasy. Historians still debate whether manuscript 512 was a genuine discovery by Fawcett or something he was guided to by others who knew of his peculiar interests. Some even whisper that the document is a clever forgery, though there's no evidence for this. To you, the debate is academic noise. The manuscript feels true in your gut. It has given your nebulous dream a name, a description, and a location, however vague. It is now the central pillar of your life's work. The obsession has found its scripture. You now have a map, a holy text, and a destination. All you need to do is convince the world to fund your pilgrimage, and then survive the journey into the heart of the continent to find the city of stone, the old
Armed
Portuguese
with the proof
explorer of manuscript 512. You are no longer just an explorer. You are a man with a mission bordering on the divine. The RGS, while publicly celebrating your previous work, is privately growing wary. They will fund you for more. Practical, survey-based expeditions, but the mention of Z is met with a patronizing pat on the back. So you play their game. You undertake 2 more major expeditions between 1908 and 1910, officially to map more rivers and define more borders. But your true agenda is a secret you share with almost no one. Every league you travel, every river you chart, is done with one eye on the map and the other on the horizon, searching for the geographical features mentioned in your precious manuscript. Expeditions are different from your first foray. You are more experienced, more jaded. The jungle's initial shock has been replaced by a grim familiarity. You know the dangers, you know the routines, and you know the cost. You push yourself and your men to the absolute limit. Your reputation for toughness becomes legendary. Stories circulate about your almost supernatural immunity to fatigue and disease, your indifference to hunger and pain. You travel light, believing that heavy equipment and large teams are a liability in the jungle. Your motto is, "A trouser button is a luxury." This minimalist approach allows you to move faster and farther than any previous expedition, but it also increases the risk exponentially. Your companions on these journeys are a rotating cast of adventurers, scientists, and fortune seekers. Men like James Murray, a biologist, and Henry Coston, a former NCO, who would become a loyal companion. You observe them with a cool, detached eye. You are looking for a specific kind of man, tough, resourceful, and utterly loyal. But you find that few can match your own obsessive drive. Murray, the scientist, is fascinated by the biology of the jungle, but is physically unprepared for the relentless hardship. He suffers terribly from infections and malnutrition, and you are forced to send him back, an act he would later resent, leading to public acrimony. You are learning a hard lesson. Your quest demands a level of devotion that few possess. During one of these trips, you venture deeper into the Matu Grosso than ever before. You are in the heart of the territory where you believe Z must lie. The clues remain tantalizingly elusive. You find more strange pottery. You hear more stories from isolated tribes about their ancestors. You even claim to see strange, pale-skinned people in the distance, just as manuscript 512 described, though they vanish before you can make contact. Each of these small discoveries is a log on the fire of your obsession, burning away your patience and your connection to the conventional world. A quirky fact from this period is your growing reliance on what can only be described as intuition. You would sometimes change the expedition's course based on a dream or a feeling. You'd use your dowsing rod not just for water, but to try and define the direction of the lost city. To a rationalist, this is madness. To you, it's simply using all the tools at your disposal, both physical and metaphysical. It's a bit like a modern-day CEO using a mix of data analytics and gut feeling to make a big decision. Except your spreadsheet is a tattered 18th century manuscript, and your gut feeling comes from a twitching willow branch. Back home, between expeditions, the strain begins to show in your family life. Your wife, Nina, is a bastion of strength and belief. She is one of the few people who truly understands the depth of your conviction. She manages your affairs, raises your children too. Sons, Jack and Brian, and a daughter, Joan, and defends you against your critics. But your long absences and single-minded focus take their toll. Your children are growing up with a father who is more of a legend than a presence. The RGS is becoming more openly critical. They see a brilliant surveyor squandering his talents on a wild goose chase. The friction is palpable. They want maps of rivers. You want to redraw the map of ancient history. Historians still debate the nature of your relationship with the RGS during this period. Was it a complete breakdown or a more nuanced disagreement between a visionary and a conservative institution? What's clear is that you were beginning to operate outside their established framework. You were becoming a rogue agent, funded by them, but loyal only to your own quest. This growing rift would have profound consequences for your future. You stand on a riverbank, staring east into a seemingly endless sea of green. You have spent years of your life, risked death a dozen times over, and pushed your body and mind to the breaking point. You have alienated colleagues and spent months away from your family. And still, Z remains hidden. The frustration is immense, a burning coal in your gut. But it doesn't lead to despair. It hardens into resolve. You are not just looking for a city anymore. This quest has become the very definition of your existence. You feel that the jungle is testing you, that it will only reveal its greatest secret to one who is truly worthy, one who has sacrificed everything. You don't know it yet, but a far greater test is coming, one that has nothing to do with the jungle. The world outside the Amazon is sliding towards a catastrophe that will put your personal quest on hold and drag you into a hell of a very different color. The year is 1914. The telegram finds you not in a steamy jungle outpost, but in the relative comfort of England. The news it carries is stark and world-altering. War has been declared in Europe. Your personal quest for a lost city suddenly seems incredibly distant, a dream from another life. You are, first and foremost, a soldier and an officer in the British Army. Your country needs you. The Great War has begun, and your expertise in artillery is in high demand. You put away your maps of the Amazon, your copies of Manuscript 512, and your well-worn machete. You trade your khaki exploration gear for the drab, heavy wool of a frontline uniform. You are sent to Flanders, to the Western Front. If the Amazon was the green hell, this is the gray hell. It is a landscape of mud, barbed wire, and death. On an industrial scale, the dangers of the jungle, the snakes, the jaguars, the diseases are at least natural. They are part of an ancient living system. This is different. This is man-made horror. The air, instead of being thick with humidity and the scent of decay, is acrid with the smell of cordite, poison gas, and rotting flesh. The constant thrumming. Sound is not the buzz of insects, but the unending scream of artillery shells and the chatter of machine guns. You are 50 years old, an age when many officers are relegated to staff positions far behind the lines. But you are Percy Fawcett. You command an artillery brigade right at the front, near the Somme. You apply the same meticulous, obsessive focus to your military duties as you did to your explorations. Your calculations must be perfect. A miscalculation of a few yards can mean the difference between hitting an enemy trench and killing your own men. You are good at it. Terrifyingly good. You survive gas attacks, relentless shelling, and the sheer psychological grind of trench warfare. You are mentioned in dispatches multiple times for your bravery and leadership. The contrast between your two worlds is staggering. In the Amazon, survival depended on reading the subtle signs of nature, on respecting the environment, and on a deep, intuitive connection to the world around you. Here, survival is a matter of luck and brute force. It's about hunkering down in a muddy hole while the world tries to obliterate you with steel. A common historical fact about World War I is the sheer, unprecedented scale of the casualties. Battles like the Somme resulted in over 1 million men killed or wounded, often for the gain of just a few miles of cratered earth. You witness this carnage firsthand. You see men, young men the age of your own sons, vaporized by shells or cut, down by machine gun fire. You see what civilization is capable of. The very society that dismissed your theories of an advanced ancient Amazonian culture as fantasy is now engaged in the most barbaric, self-destructive act in human history. The irony is not lost on you. The men in powdered wigs who wrote manuscript. 512 were called bandeirantes, savages in their own right, but what they did pales in comparison to this. A quirky, dark detail of trench life was the trench art that soldiers would create during lulls in the fighting, making ornate letter openers from shell casings or lighters from bullets. It was a way of imposing a tiny bit of human creativity onto the overwhelming machinery of death. You have no time for such things. Your focus is absolute. Keep your men alive and kill the enemy. Historians still debate how the experience of World War I truly changed you. Did it traumatize you, leaving you with the shell shock that afflicted so many others? Or did it simply reinforce your pre-existing convictions? The evidence suggests the latter. The war seems to have burned away any remaining attachment you had to modern European society. It confirmed your belief that civilization was a corrupt, self-immolating failure. The jungle, for all its dangers, now seems pure, honest. Z, the lost city, becomes more than just an archaeological prize. It transforms in your mind into a kind of sanctuary, a refuge for a higher, more harmonious way of life. Untainted by the madness of the modern world. You survive the war. Many of your friends and colleagues do not. In 1918, the guns finally fall silent, and a strange, exhausted quiet settles over Europe. You return to England a decorated war hero, but you feel like a ghost. You've walked through 2 different kinds of hell and come out the other side. The experience has not broken you. It has tempered you like steel. It has forged your obsession into an unbreakable diamond. You are more determined than ever to turn your back on this world of war and politics and industry, and to lose yourself in the great green wilderness where your destiny awaits. The quest for Z is no longer an adventure. It is an escape. It is a salvation. The war gave you a close-up view of what you were running from. Now, all you have to do is find the place you are running to. The post-war world is a jittery, wounded place. You walk the streets of London, a man in his 50s, decorated for valor, but you feel profoundly out of step with the times. The roaring 20s are beginning to stir, a frantic, jazz-fueled dance on the grave of the old world. But you feel no joy in it. You see a society desperately trying to forget the trauma of the war, masking its pain with frivolity. It all feels hollow to you. Your heart and mind are 3,000 miles away in the Amazonian basin. The war didn't cure your jungle fever. It made the condition terminal. Your quest for Z now takes on a new, distinctly spiritual dimension. Your pre-war interest in theosophy and mysticism, once a private hobby, now moves to the forefront of your thinking. You need a philosophical framework to justify what has become a life-consuming obsession, and you find it in the esoteric teachings of figures. Like Helena Blavatsky, Theosophy posits the existence of ancient, highly advanced civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria, and a secret brotherhood of ascended masters who guide humanity's spiritual evolution. You begin to believe that Z is not just a remnant of a forgotten Amazonian culture, but perhaps an outpost of one of these mythical elder races, a place where ancient wisdom is still preserved. This is a significant shift. Your quest is no longer purely archaeological. It's becoming a spiritual pilgrimage. You start attending seances and corresponding with mediums. You become convinced that you are receiving spiritual guidance, that unseen forces are helping you, protecting you, and leading you toward your goal. A particularly quirky aspect of this period is your relationship with a spiritualist who claimed to channel a spirit guide named Philemon. You would consult Philemon on matters related to your expedition, seeking confirmation for your theories and guidance on your path. It's a detail that your more rational-minded supporters found deeply unsettling, and your detractors seized upon as proof of your mounting delusion. You begin to give public lectures to raise awareness and funds. You are a charismatic speaker. You stand on stage, a tall, imposing figure with a piercing gaze and a magnificent mustache, and you hold audiences captive with your tales of jungle adventure and your theories of a lost world. You speak of Z as a place of incredible energy, a source of spiritual power that could redeem a fallen modern world. A common historical fact is that the post-WWI era saw a massive surge in public interest in spiritualism and the occult, as millions of people grieving for their lost loved ones sought comfort and answers beyond the realm of conventional religion and science. You tap directly into this cultural zeitgeist. Your family is caught in the middle of this transformation. Your wife, Nina, remains your staunchest ally. She believes in you and your quest with a fierce loyalty, even as you delve deeper into the esoteric. She acts as your anchor to the real world, managing the household and the complex logistics of events. Your life, your sons Jack and Brian, are growing into young men. They have been raised on the legend of their father and the myth of Z. For them, it's not a strange obsession. It's the central story of their family. Jack, in particular, idolizes you. He is strong, handsome, and adventurous, and he dreams of one day joining you on your quest. Historians still debate the extent to which you truly believed the spiritualist aspects of your quest versus how much was a performance to attract followers and funding. Was it genuine faith, a psychological coping mechanism for the horrors of war, or a calculated strategy? The lines are blurry. It seems most likely that you sincerely believed it all. The man who used a dowsing rod in Ceylon was always inclined toward the mystical. The war simply supercharged that part of your nature. You had seen the failure of Velier, materialism in the trenches, and you are now searching for its opposite. This spiritual framing of your quest has a practical effect. It alienates you further from the scientific establishment. The RGS, which operates on principles of empirical evidence and rational inquiry, can't endorse a search for the last bastion of Atlantean wisdom guided by a spirit channeler. The funding from them dries up completely. You are on your own now, a true rogue, but this only strengthens your resolve. You feel that the RGS and its ilk are blind, trapped in a narrow, materialistic worldview, incapable of seeing the deeper truths you are pursuing. You are no longer just fighting the jungle. You are fighting the skepticism and small-mindedness of your own time. You are casting yourself as a modern-day Galileo, persecuted for a truth that others are not yet ready to accept. It's a lonely position, but a powerful one. It gives your struggle a heroic, epic quality. You are not just an explorer. You are a guardian of a sacred truth, a warrior of the light. And the final great battle is about to begin. The final act of your life's drama requires a stage, and that stage is expensive. The 1920s are roaring, but funding a major expedition into the heart of the Amazon is no small feat, especially now that the doors of the Royal Geographical Society have more or less closed to you. They see you as a liability, a brilliant man who has gone off the deep end. You are a man without a patron, and a quest without a patron is just a dream. So, you must become your own patron. You must sell the dream. You throw yourself into the world of public relations with the same relentless energy you once applied to hacking through the jungle. You are a natural. Your public lectures become major events. Theaters in London and New York are packed with people eager to hear your stories. You paint vivid pictures with your words. The suffocating humidity, the terrifying wildlife, the tantalizing clues of a lost world. You show them your maps, the mysterious symbols from manuscript 512, and you speak of Z not just as a ruin, but as a living possibility, a secret that could change the world. You're not just asking for money. You're offering people a chance to be part of one of the last great adventures on Earth. It's a compelling sales pitch. The newspapers love you. In an age before television, explorers were superstars, and you are one of the most compelling. You are the real-life Indiana Jones of your time, a tough, mustachioed adventurer with a tantalizingly unsolved mystery. You enter into a contract with the North American Newspaper Alliance, NANA, a major media syndicate. They will provide a significant portion of the funding for your final expedition. In return, you will provide them with exclusive dispatches from the field. Your private quest is about to become a public spectacle, a serialized adventure story for millions of readers. This partnership is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provides the funds you so desperately need. On the other, it adds an immense amount of pressure. You are no longer just accountable to yourself or your small circle of believers. You are accountable to a global audience. You have to deliver. The expedition must not only succeed in its goals, but also provide thrilling updates along the way. It's a bit like a modern reality TV show, where the journey itself is the product. This public pressure changes the very nature of the expedition, making failure a far more public and humiliating prospect. A common historical fact is that many great expeditions of this era, from polar explorations to mountaineering, were funded through similar media partnerships. The public's hunger for heroic narratives was a powerful economic engine for exploration. You are simply mastering a game that others like Shackleton and Amundsen had played before you. You even get financial backing from a group of American financiers and industrialists who call themselves the Glove, a wonderfully conspiratorial-sounding name for what was essentially a gentleman's investment club. They are captivated by your vision and are willing to bet on you. The funding allows you to finally begin concrete preparations. You meticulously plan the logistics. You know exactly what you need: lightweight gear, specific trade goods for indigenous tribes, reliable chronometers for navigation, and enough medical supplies to handle the inevitable emergencies. A quirky but crucial part of your planning involved designing specialized, insect-proof clothing and lightweight, waterproof hammocks. After years of suffering, you had become an expert in jungle comfort, or at least in minimizing discomfort. You know that survival is often a matter of small advantages: a dry place to sleep, a few less infected bites. But as the money comes in, so do the critics. The scientific community grows more vocal in its disapproval. Archaeologists and geographers publish articles debunking your theories, calling them fanciful and unscientific. They point to the lack of any hard evidence and your reliance on an 18th century manuscript and spiritualist pronouncements. They paint you as a charlatan or a fool, leading a gullible public on a wild goose chase. Historians still debate the fairness of these criticisms. Were they the valid objections of a rigorous scientific community? Or was there an element of professional jealousy and institutional inertia at play? You, of course, see it as the latter. You view your critics as small-minded academics stuck in their dusty offices, unable to grasp the bigger picture that you can see so clearly. Their skepticism only fuels your determination. Every article written against you is another reason to prove them wrong. By 1924, you have done it. You have raised the necessary funds. You have a plan. You have the backing of a powerful media empire. The stage is set. Your final quest, the culmination of 2 decades of dreaming and struggle, is about to become a reality. You have sold your dream to the world, and now you must venture into the wilderness to find it. The weight of expectation is enormous, but you feel a sense of calm. You have fought on the Somme, survived countless jungle diseases, and stared down the skepticism of the entire scientific establishment. This is your destiny, the final chapter of the story you have been writing your entire life. All you need now is the right team to walk into that final chapter with you. With the funding secured and the plan in place, the final crucial element is the team. You have learned from bitter experience that the success of an expedition in the Amazon depends less on the quantity of your gear and more on the quality of your companions. Your philosophy of traveling light extends to your team. You want a small, agile, and utterly dedicated group. A large party is slow, consumes too many resources, and attracts unwanted attention. You decide on a team of 3, yourself and 2 younger companions. The first choice is the most important and the most personal. It is your eldest son, Jack Fawcett. He is now 21 years old, the same age you were when you first began your military career. Jack is the physical embodiment of you in your youth, strong, handsome, resilient, and filled with a romantic sense of adventure. He has grown up hearing the tales of Z, and it has become his dream as much as it is yours. He has been training for this, preparing his body and mind for the rigors of the jungle. Having him by your side is both a source of great pride and a terrible burden. You are not just his commander. You are his father. You are leading him into one of the most dangerous places on Earth. The second companion is Jack's best friend, Raleigh Rimmel. Raleigh is also young, athletic, and enthusiastic, though perhaps a bit less seasoned than Jack. He is chosen for his loyalty to Jack and his robust physical health. He is utterly captivated by your charisma and the promise of the grand adventure. The dynamic is set. You are the experienced, hardened leader. Jack is your devoted protégé and heir apparent. And Raleigh is the loyal, eager supporter. To the outside world, it looks like the perfect team, a blend of age and youth, experience and enthusiasm. However, there is a tension beneath the surface. You are a notoriously difficult and demanding leader. Your standards are impossibly high. You expect your companions to endure the same hardships as you without complaint. Can these 2 young men, raised in relative comfort in England, truly handle the soul-crushing reality of the jungle? You believe so. You see in Jack your own iron. Will? You hope Raleigh possesses a similar fortitude. It's a gamble. A massive life-or-death gamble with your own son's life in the balance. Back in England, your wife Nina is the unsung hero of the entire enterprise. While you are the face of the expedition, she is its heart and logistical brain. She handles the finances, corresponds with your backers at Nana and the Glove, and manages the constant stream of public inquiries. A common historical fact is that the wives of many famous explorers played these essential, behind-the-scenes roles, yet they are often relegated to footnotes in the history books. Nina, however, is a true partner in your quest. She believes in Z as fervently as you do. Her faith in you is absolute. The farewell is heartbreaking. She knows the odds better than anyone. She has lived through your previous expeditions, the long silences, the worry. But she sends you, her husband, and her eldest son off with a brave face, her belief in your destiny overriding her fear. A quirky and poignant detail from this time is the signet ring you have specially made. You give a copy to Nina, telling her that if you succeed in finding Z and decide to stay there, you will find a way to send the ring back to her as a sign that you are safe and have found your paradise. It's a deeply romantic and slightly mad gesture, a symbol of your conviction that Z is not just a place to be discovered, but a place to live, a potential home. Historians still debate your decision to take Jack and Raleigh. Was it a father's desire to share his life's crowning achievement with his son? Or was it a reckless act of ego, endangering two inexperienced young men on a quest that had broken seasoned explorers? Some biographers suggest you saw Jack as your successor, the one who would carry on the search if you were to fall. Others see it as a tragic miscalculation, underestimating the jungle's brutality and overestimating the boy's resilience. As you stand on the deck of the ship, watching the coast of England recede for what you feel will be the last time, you look at the two young men by your side. They are laughing, their faces alight with the thrill of the adventure ahead. They see the glory, the romance, the discovery. You see the path ahead with clearer, colder eyes. You know the price of this journey. You know the pain, the hunger, the fear that awaits them. You are their leader, their mentor, and their guide. You are leading them towards a lost city that may be a gateway to a higher plane of existence, or towards a meaningless death in a malarial swamp. The weight of that responsibility is heavier than any pack you have ever carried. But the choice has been made. The team is assembled. The journey to the point of no return has begun. You arrive in Brazil in early 1925. The journey to the edge of the wilderness is a familiar one for you, but for Jack and Raleigh, it's a thrilling immersion into a new world. The vibrant, chaotic port of Rio gives way to the vast interior, traveling by train, then by truck, and finally by smaller and smaller riverboats. You make your way to Cuiabá, the capital of the Mato Grosso state. This is the last major outpost of civilization, a dusty, sweltering town that serves as the jumping-off point for prospectors, ranchers, and adventurers. It is here that you gather the final members of your party, two local Brazilian guides or camaradas who will help you with the initial leg of the journey, managing the pack animals and navigating the known territory. From Cuiabá, the real work begins. You travel north, on horseback and with pack mules, into the rugged plateau country. The landscape is a mix of scrubland, forest, and savanna, known as the Sertão. It's hot, dry, and unforgiving. The dispatches you send back to the Nana newspaper syndicate are full of confidence and progress. You describe the landscape, the preparations, the spirits of your young companions. To the world reading your updates over their morning coffee, it's a classic adventure story unfolding in real time. They have no idea of the grim realities you edit out, the festering saddle sores, the constant threat of venomous snakes, the monotonous diet of dried meat and beans. You are meticulous in your navigation, taking readings with your chronometer and sextant, cross-referencing your position with your maps and the cryptic clues of manuscript. 512. Jack proves to be a capable and enthusiastic student, quickly learning the arts of celestial navigation. Raleigh is struggling a bit more. The glamour of the expedition is wearing off, replaced by the drudgery of the trail. You note in your private journal that Raleigh, while a good lad, lacks the guts for this kind of work. It's a worrying sign. After weeks of hard travel, you reach a place you christen Dead Horse Camp. The name is brutally literal. It's here that your horse dies, either from exhaustion or a snake bite. Your accounts are unclear. From this point on, you will be proceeding on foot. More significantly, It's the last place from which you will send a detailed, handwritten dispatch. The letter, carried back by one of your returning guides, is addressed to Nina. It's dated May 29th, 1925. In this final letter, your tone is optimistic, almost triumphant. You write, you need have no fear of any failure. You describe your location, an old camp of yours from a previous expedition, and you outline your immediate plans. You are about to enter the territory of the Xingu River headwaters, a vast, unexplored region inhabited by tribes who have had little to no contact with the outside world. This is the true blank space on the map, the area where you are certain Z is hidden. A common historical fact is that this letter from Dead Horse Camp is the last verifiable, authenticated communication ever received from Percy Fawcett. Everything that follows is silence, speculation, and myth. In the letter, you mention that you are sending one of the Brazilian guides back, as you plan to travel light and fast from this point on. You will proceed with only Jack, Raleigh, and the remaining guide for a short while longer before going on alone, just the three of you. This is the point of no return, and you know it. You are deliberately cutting your own line of retreat. You are shedding the last vestiges of the outside world. The decision to send the guides back is a critical one. They are your last link, your last safety net. By dismissing them, you are making a definitive statement. We will find Z, or we will not come back at all. A quirky, almost chilling detail is that in one of your last messages, you make a specific request. If the expedition does not return, no rescue party should be sent. You argue that any rescue attempt would be doomed to failure and would only result in more lives lost. You state that the answer to the enigma is what matters, and that the fate of the explorers is secondary. It's a message that sounds heroic and noble, but it would also serve to muddy the waters and discourage immediate search efforts. When you eventually go missing, historians still debate your state of mind at Dead Horse Camp. Was your optimism genuine? Or was it a brave front for your wife and your financial backers, masking a deeper anxiety about the incredible risks you are about to take? The reference to Raleigh's weakness in your private journal suggests you are not entirely confident in your team. Yet your public and private letters radiate an unshakable self-assurance. Perhaps you had simply reached a point where belief had to triumph over doubt. You watch your guide and the pack animals disappear over the horizon, heading back towards the world of telegraphs and newspapers. The silence that descends is profound. It is just the four of you now, on the precipice of the unknown. Soon it will be just three. You look at Jack and Raleigh. Their faces are a mixture of excitement and trepidation. You clap them on the shoulder. The great adventure, the final leg of the journey, is about to begin. You turn your face to the east, towards the endless green canopy, and take your first step into the silence. The world you step into now is different. The known trails and familiar landmarks are gone. You are off the map, navigating by compass, celestial readings, and your own powerful intuition. A few days after leaving Dead Horse Camp, you make your final move to isolate your party. You pay off your last remaining Brazilian guide and send him back. He is the last person from the outside world to ever see you, Jack, and Raleigh alive. He reports that you were heading east into the territory of the hostile Kalapalo tribe. His final image is of the three of you, the tall, determined father and his two young companions, waving goodbye before being swallowed by the immense, indifferent green of the forest. Now, it is just you three. The weight of absolute self-reliance settles upon you. There is no one to call for help. There are no supply caches to fall back on. Everything you need to survive and to succeed, you carry on your backs. Your packs are as light as you could make them. Hammocks, a little dried food, medical supplies, your navigational instruments, a few firearms, and trade goods. You are a tiny, self-contained unit moving through a vast, potentially hostile world. The days take on a brutal, monotonous rhythm. You are the leader, the driving force. You wake before dawn, take your astronomical readings, and set the course for the day. You are the one who makes the decisions. Where to cross a river, which direction to take, when to rest. Jack is your reliable second. He has become a capable woodsman, strong and uncomplaining. He takes on his share of the hard labor without question, his faith in you and the mission unwavering. Raleigh, however, is a growing concern. The physical toll of the journey is breaking him down. His legs are covered in infected insect bites that have turned into painful ulcers. He is weak, and you can see the fear and despair in his eyes. He is the weak link in the chain, and you know that in the jungle, a weak link can be fatal for everyone. What were your thoughts during this time? Your journals are lost, so we can only speculate, piecing together a psychological portrait from your past writings and your known character. You likely felt a mixture of exhilaration and immense pressure. The exhilaration came from finally being free, unburdened by skeptics and society, engaged in the purest form of your quest. The pressure came from the knowledge that 2 young lives, one of them your own flesh and blood, depended entirely on your judgment. Imagine the scene. You are making camp by a sluggish, brown river. The air is a sauna. The noise of the insects is a deafening, high-pitched hum. Raleigh is lying in his hammock, groaning softly, too weak to help. Jack is trying to start a fire with damp wood, his face grim with concentration. You are studying your tattered map, the copy of manuscript 512, trying to reconcile its 18th century descriptions with the landscape around you. Are those hills on the horizon the ones the manuscript mentioned? Is this the correct river? A single wrong turn could lead you into an inescapable swamp or the territory of a tribe that kills all intruders on sight. Historians still debate the most likely route you took after dismissing your last guide. Based on your final coordinates and stated intentions, you were likely heading towards the headwaters of the Xingu River, a complex network of tributaries flowing through a region that was, at the time, a complete mystery to outsiders. A common historical fact is that this area was home to numerous indigenous groups, including the Kalapalo, Kokoro, and Awiti peoples, whose descendants still live there today. Your plan was to interact with them, to trade, and to ask for directions, using your years of experience in Indian diplomacy. But what if your experience wasn't enough? What if Raleigh's condition worsened, forcing you to stop? A sick man cannot travel. An immobile party in the jungle is a dead party. You would face an impossible choice. Abandon Raleigh to save yourself and Jack, or stay with him and risk everyone perishing from starvation or disease. This is the kind of brutal calculus the jungle demands. A quirky but grim detail of jungle travel is that a simple cut or blister, left untreated in the hyperbacterial environment, could quickly turn into a raging infection, leading to gangrene and death within days. Raleigh's leg ulcers were not a minor inconvenience. They were a life-threatening crisis. Let's imagine the final days. The food is running out. Your quinine supply is low. Raleigh is delirious with fever. Jack is exhausted, but still resolute. His gaze fixed on you, waiting for the order, the solution that you can no longer provide. The confidence you projected in your letters has evaporated in the face of this harsh reality. The lost city of Z, with its promises of spiritual redemption, seems like a fever dream. The only reality is the struggle for the next breath. Next footstep. Or perhaps it wasn't like that at all. Perhaps you found a friendly tribe who took you in, who healed Raleigh's legs. Perhaps you were on the very cusp of your discovery. Perhaps you saw it in the distance a glint of stone on a high plateau, just as the manuscript described. and you pushed forward with renewed hope into that final fateful valley. We will never know. A curtain of the jungle falls, and behind it, the scene freezes. The three of you, the aging, obsessed prophet, the devoted son, and the failing friend, are left standing on the edge of history, about to step into myth. The silence that follows is absolute. The dispatches to the newspaper stop. The letters to Nina cease. The world holds its breath, waiting for news that will never come. For a year, the silence from the jungle is not alarming. Expeditions like yours were expected to go incommunicado for long stretches. Nina waits, her faith a shield against the creeping dread. The newspaper syndicate, Nana, waits for its star, correspondent to emerge with the story of the century. The world, for the most part, forgets about the old explorer and his two young companions who walked into the green vastness of Brazil. But as 1926 turns into 1927, the silence becomes heavy, ominous. Concern turns to alarm. The myth of Percy Fawcett, the invincible explorer, begins to crack. The world slowly realizes that you are not just out of touch. You are missing. What follows is one of the most extraordinary and tragic sagas in the history of exploration. The search for Percy Fawcett, the man who had specifically requested that no one come looking for him, posthumously inspires dozens of rescue expeditions. A media frenzy and a death toll that would ultimately far exceed that of his own small party. Your disappearance creates a vacuum, and all manner of people rush in to fill it. The first official search is launched by the RGS, the very institution that had grown so weary of you. Led by another experienced explorer, George Diet, the 1928 expedition is a major undertaking, complete with a radio operator and a film crew. Diet follows your trail to Dead Horse Camp and beyond, into the Xingu region. He interviews the local tribes, showing them photographs of you, Jack, and Raleigh. The Kalapalo people tell him a story. 3 white men had passed through their territory. The younger 2 were sick. After an incident, perhaps a theft or an insult, the explorers were killed. As proof, the chief presents Diet with a tin trunk that had belonged to you. Diet returns to civilization and declares that you and your sons are dead, murdered by the Kalapalo. The case, it seems, is closed, but it isn't. Nina refuses to believe it. Your many supporters and believers refuse to believe it. The story of your death is too mundane, too ignominious. A man like you couldn't have just been clubbed to death. This refusal to accept the simple, brutal explanation fuels a cottage industry of Fawcett searching. Over the next few decades, a parade of would-be rescuers, journalists, charlatans, and genuine adventurers plunge into the Mato Grosso, all hoping to solve the mystery and claim the fame that would come with it. The stories that come out of these searches are wild and often tragic. A quirky, if morbid, fact is that the search for you became a kind of holy grail for a certain type of adventurer. In 1932, an American journalist named Albert de Winton went looking for you and was never seen again. In 1951, a Brazilian journalist was killed by a local tribe while investigating a new lead. It is estimated that over 100 people may have died in the search for your 3-man party. Your request that no one follow you proved tragically prophetic. The clues that emerge are maddeningly contradictory. One expedition finds a theodolite that may have belonged to you. Another hears a story about a white god living with a remote. Tribe was it you, having gone native. A Swiss man named Stefan Ratten returns from the jungle with a shrunken head, claiming it belonged to you. It did not. Then there are the bones. In 1952, the Kalapalo leader, Chief Izarari, confesses to the famous Brazilian explorers, the Villas Boas brothers, that his tribe did kill your party. He leads them to a gravesite where they unearth a set of bones. The bones are sent to London for analysis. For a moment, it seems the mystery is solved. But a common historical fact is that the Royal Anthropological Institute determined the bones were not yours. They were not tall enough, and the dental structure didn't match. The mystery was blown wide open once again. Historians still debate the truth of these various confessions and clues. Did the Kalapalo tribe kill you, and then, feeling guilty or fearing reprisal, offer up a different set of bones to close the case? Or were they telling the truth to Diet in the first place, and the whole saga of the bones was a misunderstanding? Or were they innocent all along, their stories misconstrued by a world desperate for answers? The search for you becomes a kind of cultural phenomenon. You are the Amelia Earhart of the jungle. Your story inspires books, movies, and endless speculation. You are no longer just a missing explorer. You are a symbol of the unknown, a testament to the enduring power of a mystery. The blank space on the map that you so desperately wanted to fill has, in a way, become you. You are the enigma now. While the world frantically searches for your body, your legacy is growing far beyond the man you ever were. You have achieved a kind of immortality that even the discovery of Z could never have granted you. You have become a ghost, a legend haunting the green heart of the world. Decades have passed since you, Jack, and Raleigh walked into the jungle and vanished. The frantic search parties have dwindled. The media frenzy has quieted, but the mystery of your fate endures, a stubborn ghost in the machine of history. Question remains, whispered in documentaries and debated in online forums. What really happened to Percy Fawcett? The theories are plentiful, ranging from the mundane and probable to the wildly speculative and fantastical. The most straightforward and widely accepted theory is the one first proposed by George Diet back in 1928. You were killed by one of the indigenous tribes of the Xingu region. The evidence, though circumstantial, is compelling. You were entering a territory of uncontacted peoples who were known to be hostile to outsiders, especially after the violence and diseases brought by rubber tappers. With Raleigh sick and the party weakened, you would have been incredibly vulnerable. An encounter gone wrong, a misunderstanding, a perceived insult, or simply the tribe's policy of killing all intruders, could have easily led to your deaths. The various confessions from the Kalapalo tribe over the years, despite their inconsistencies, all point to this violent end. This is the Occam's razor explanation. The simplest answer is often the correct one. A second, equally plausible theory is that you are not murdered, but simply succumbed to the jungle itself. This is the fate that befell countless other explorers. You could have died of starvation after your food ran out. You could have contracted a virulent disease for which you had no immunity or medicine. An accident, a snakebite, a river crossing gone wrong, a fatal fall could have claimed one or all of you. In this scenario, your bodies would have been quickly reclaimed by the forest, leaving no trace. A common historical fact is that the Amazonian environment is one of the fastest in the world at decomposition. An unburied body can be reduced to bone by insects and scavengers in a matter of days, and the bones themselves scattered or covered by vegetation within weeks. The lack of a body is not, in itself, mysterious. Then we move into more romantic territory. There is the theory that you went native. In this version of the story, you found a friendly tribe that welcomed you. Perhaps you, disillusioned with Western civilization, decided to stay. Some stories even claim you became a chief or a shaman, living out the rest of your days in the jungle paradise you had long sought. Fueling this theory were sporadic reports from missionaries and traders over the years of seeing tall, blue-eyed, white Indians in remote areas children you supposedly fathered. There's no concrete evidence for any of this, but it's a powerful and appealing narrative. It gives your story a happy, or at least a peaceful ending. And finally, we have the theory that you would have wanted to be true. You found Z, In this fantastical scenario, you succeeded. You located the lost city from manuscript 512. Perhaps it was inhabited by the descendants of its ancient builders, a secretive community that does not permit anyone who finds them to leave. Or perhaps you found the city empty, a magnificent ruin, and chose to live there in seclusion, the sole kings of a lost world. This theory is, of course, the realm of pure speculation, unsupported by any evidence. And yet, it's the version that aligns with the spiritual, messianic turn your quest had taken. It transforms your disappearance from a tragedy into a transcendence. Historians still debate the central question that underpins your entire life's work. Was there ever anything to find? Was the lost city of Z ever a real possibility? For most of the 20th century, the academic consensus was a firm no. The idea of a large, complex civilization in the Amazon was dismissed as impossible due to the supposedly poor soil quality, which couldn't support the necessary agriculture. You were seen as a brilliant explorer, but a deluded archaeologist. But then, in the late 20th and early 21st centuries, something remarkable happened. Using satellite imagery and archaeological surveys, researchers began to uncover extensive, sophisticated pre-Columbian settlements in the very regions you were exploring. A quirky fact that completely appends the old consensus is the discovery of a vast network of towns and villages in the Xingu area, connected by roads and causeways, centered around a major site now called Kuhikugu. These settlements, which flourished between 800 and 1600 AD, may have supported up to 50,000 people. They are not the stone metropolis of your dreams, as they were built primarily of earth and wood, but they are undeniable proof of large, complex, sedentary societies in the Amazon. You were right. Not in the details, perhaps, but in the broad strokes, you were vindicated. The Amazon was not an empty wilderness. It did host advanced cultures. The tragedy is that you never knew it. You were searching for stone when the evidence was made. Of earth, and the descendants of the people who built these societies were the very tribes you were encountering. You were a man ahead of his time, whose grand theory was dismissed as fantasy, only to be proven substantially correct long after you had vanished in search of it. The ultimate irony is that you may have been killed by the very people whose ancestors held the key to your life's obsession. So, what is your legacy? Is it the tragic tale of an obsessed man who led his son to his death on a fool's errand? Or is it the heroic saga of a visionary explorer who was proven right in the end? The truth, like most things, lies somewhere in the murky space between. You were a man of profound contradictions, a decorated officer of the British Empire who rejected its civilization, a meticulous surveyor who relied on dreams and spirit guides, a devoted father who led his son into unimaginable peril. You were flawed, obsessive, and perhaps, by the end, unhinged. But you were also brilliant, courageous, and possessed of a vision that was, in its essence, decades ahead of its time. Your greatest contribution was not in what you found, but in the questions you dared to ask. You challenged the comfortable assumptions of your era. You looked at a part of the world that science had declared empty and primitive, and you insisted it held a deep and complex history. The fact that the recent discoveries at Kuhikugu and other sites were made with satellites and ground-penetrating radar technologies you couldn't have dreamed of doesn't diminish your achievement. Your intuition, honed by years in the jungle and fueled by a strange mix of ancient texts and mystical belief, led you to the right place, even if you were looking for the wrong thing. Your story has become a modern myth, a cautionary tale about the dangers of obsession, but also an inspirational one about the power of conviction. You represent the eternal human desire to pull back the curtain, to know what lies beyond the horizon. You embody the romance of the last blank spaces on the map, and the haunting possibility that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. In a world that feels increasingly mapped, measured, and known, your story reminds us that there are still places where the world can swallow you whole, where the line between history and legend blurs and fades away. You are frozen in time, forever walking into that green expanse. The aging explorer, his face set with grim determination. The loyal son, following his father into destiny. The young friend, stumbling behind, a casualty of a dream that was not his own. The image is powerful because it is incomplete. It's a story without a final page, and that is what gives it its enduring power. You didn't just search for a lost world. You created one. You created a mystery that has become your own enduring monument, more lasting than any city of stone dot. And so the trail goes cold, fading into the deep, quiet green of the Amazon. The frantic shouts of the search parties have long since faded, replaced by the gentle, eternal hum of the jungle. The questions and debates soften now, their sharp edges worn smooth by the passage of time. Let the mystery rest. Let the silence hold its secrets. Picture that final, imagined moment, not as one of terror or failure, but as one of quiet release. Imagine the oppressive weight of the quest finally lifting from your shoulders, the decades of striving and struggle dissolving into the warm, humid air. The need to prove, to discover, to return, all of it just fades away, becoming as insignificant as a single dropped leaf on the forest floor. The jungle, which you saw as an adversary and a keeper of secrets, finally becomes just a place of immense, quiet, and ancient life. There is no city of stone, no golden prize. There is only the gentle rain, the slow crawl of a vine, over a fallen tree, and the deep, peaceful breath of a world that was here long before you, and will be here long after. And in that vast, green silence, you and your son and your friend finally find a measure of peace. The search is over. You are home. The world will keep telling your story, but your part in it is done, and you can simply rest, drifting, now gently, as the last image of the great green canopy dissolves into a soft, peaceful darkness.